All right, welcome. We now continue with Good Morning Kenya, and we focus on what the papers have for us this morning. We are still using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Individually, we still remain to be at Ray Manyara, at Dorina Range, at Victor Olo, and at Jane Wamboi. Also, you can jump on the hashtag KBC the Great. All right? Now, let's come to the Daily Nation. Of course, most of the dailies this morning are focusing on the big day that is tomorrow. Let me just show you what the Daily Nation has for us this morning. Exit Uhuru. Simple and straight to the point. So they go on to look at the reign of President Uhuru Kenyatta from 2013 through to 2022. This is a story that has been covered on page 2 through to page 11, and they capture the end of an era. They go on to talk about how he was rejected from his home over 20 years ago, gotten to a point where he was branded a Moi project, indicted by the ICC, became the 4th president of our country, has conquered very hostile territories, backstabbing and treachery in the political trenches are experiences that he has also gone through, and now to a point where he has been quote-unquote rejected due to having Raila as his project is also a situation that brought a mixture of emotions. So they go on to caption his legacy as a mixture of the good, the bad, and the outright ugly. Now, when you come to page 2 of this particular story, they start with some of the milestones that he had achieved during his tenure as President of the Republic of Kenya. And we can't get to the actual details of this particular story, but in brief, looking at some of the good that they have highlighted here in regards to this story, starting off with roads in our country. During his period as presidency between 2013 through to 2022, he is credited with having built over 11,000 kilometers of roads, which costed approximately 1.44 trillion Kenya shillings. Currently, there's some 500 kilometers that are still under construction, different levels of procurement as well, to add on to the 11,000 kilometers that have already been constructed during his tenure as president. When it comes to electricity, it's also another area that he has been lauded for having done the country good, because when he assumed presidency in 2013, electricity coverage in the country was at 40%. And by the time according to a World Bank report, as of last year, electricity coverage in the country was at 71.4%. And actually, last year, Kenya was ranked among the countries worldwide that had made the biggest strides in reducing the population that had no access to electricity between the periods of 2010 through to 2019. So that is also another area that he has really grown the country. The other area is in lands, and according to the Ministry of Lands, from 2012 through to this year, they have issued a collective 6.1 million title deeds to Kenyans, and the ministry is also still in the process of uploading all the information onto the digital platform. So that also migration from the analog to digital way of having these land records is also a milestone that has been credited to President Kenyatta during his tenure. Then there is Huduma Center. And this was also launched in 2013, one of the programs that has been also called a success, a big success in Kenya during his tenure. The question of GDP and tax has also been highlighted here, given the GDP of the country has also grown more than double from 5.31 trillion in 2013 to 12.09 trillion as of last year. And this is according to data by the Central Bank of Kenya. So those are just some of the good that they have highlighted here in regards to President Kenyatta's tenure. When it comes to the bad, they go on to highlight the question around public debt, it having grown by a huge gap, which is actually currently about 67% of our country's gross domestic product. We also have the question around corruption is also one of the biggest challenges that have been highlighted during his reign as presidency. The ever-growing public wage bill also has been mentioned in this area. And finally, taxes is also another area that has been highlighted and termed as part of the bad of his tenure. Now, they go on to focus on the different aspects of his presidency as well. Remember, this story is from page 2 through to page 11. They capture his journey from the time he was 30 years old in 1992 and officially taking that step into the political space, his investments in security and how they have paid off, and especially when it comes to those security sensitive areas in our country, and looking at also the security incidences that we have had in our country during his presidency. Also, health has been highlighted here, and on page 8, they go on to look at also Uhuru's legacy and some of the retirement perks that he will enjoy once he steps down as president tomorrow, when President-elect Dr. William Ruto is sworn in. So you can go ahead and read about all of that here. And that largely is what has been captured on this particular daily. And I'm sure we'll be getting more angles from the other dailies as highlighted. Maybe, Victor, you could give us a quick run through of what the Star has for us on the front page.
Yeah. But tomorrow is a holiday. So, yeah. Tomorrow a holiday. Biden deploys a strong team to Ruto's big day. That's what's on the front page of the Star. Biden deploys a strong team to Ruto's big day. At least 20 heads of state scheduled to attend the ceremony. This is a high-level delegation which points to Kenya's significance. That is what's the front page of the Star newspaper. More details shortly. Husband, my wife's life could have been saved. I'll tell you a story of one Maureen Anyango who lost her life last week after she bled after giving birth to twins. Raila defends Junet Mohammed over agents' cash claims. Azimio la Umoja Chief Raila Odinga has rubbished claims that some top officials at the campaign's secretariat squandered money meant to pay for election agents. That is on the front page of the Star. Ruto tells Mira Cartels, I will come for you. He was speaking yesterday in Meru, where he attended interdenominational prayer. My wife's life could have been saved. Heartbroken husband. Excessive bleeding claimed the life of Maureen Anyango, 28 years old, after she gave birth to twins. She delivered the babies at Mama Lucy Hospital. Excessive bleeding claimed the life of Maureen. The two were last week on Tuesday expecting to return home with their newborn twins and raise them as a couple, but Maureen did not make it after delivery. So it's a full page of a story here, of course, heartbreaking. From what the hubby said is that Maureen was also bleeding on her bedding. Her clothes were soaked in blood. And according to him, at that particular point, when he went home, as per the instruction given by Maureen for him to go back and clean the bedding and clean the house and the bed sheets, and he did not get any communication from Maureen. And the last information, the last phone call he received from the husband is Baya Watoto Nan, loosely translated to buy Nan baby formula for the twins. That's the last words Maureen Anyango uttered to her husband, Robert Omondi. So, as it is, Omondi is now appealing for help to buy diapers, clothing, and food for the twins.
It's really sad in this age and time we're still losing mothers to PPH, postpartum hemorrhage, and especially when we have all these advancements in healthcare and childbirth rather. And it's, speaking from experience, it's one of those experiences you are walking between life and death, and being in a medical facility with all these advancements and the professional, it's sad that we actually still hear women dying after giving birth.
Yeah, so
it really shows that a lot still needs to be done.
And it was their first set of babies.
Can you imagine that?
So that's the story there. All right. Drastic measures as 6 infants die of drug-resistant pneumonia. Klebsiella, if I got it right, bacteria identified in 14 newborns. It is resistant to most antibiotics. Now, the sad part of it that cases of multi-drug resistant Klebsiella pneumonia have been reported at Kenyatta National Hospital, and 6 of 14 babies have died. The Ministry of Health has imposed numerous strict measures to test and prevent the transmission of the bacteria. That is just but an overview of what's there. You can take a look at that story. Biden sends top officials to Ruto's inauguration. In a White House statement, President Biden announced a presidential delegation will be attending this ceremony. Ruto, that is the U.S. President, Joe Biden sent 6 top government officials to attend. The delegation include U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, U.S. Representative from Texas, that is Colin Aylred, and Secretary of State for the Bureau of African Affairs in the U.S. State Department, Mary Catherine Fee, and Monde Muyangwa, who is the Assistant Administrator for Africa in the U.S. Agency in the International Development, USAID. That is part of the delegation, of course. And lastly, jostling rocks Azimio, Kenya Kwanza coalitions in race for 7 Public Service Commission plum slots. Senate will nominate 3 members of commission, while National Assembly 4. It has also been it's emerging that lobbying has intensified within the Azimio coalition amid reports that ODM might donate its only slot in the National Assembly to Jubilee. In Kenya Kwanza, Ruto's camp has settled on North Mugirango MP Joash Nyamoko, Faith Gitau of Nyandarua, and Jane Kihara of Naivasha. And of course, the slot also is also reserved for 2 so to speak, non-parliamentarians to represent the interest of the common mwananchi. And it's one of the most powerful positions in Parliament. So that is just what we have on the front page. And of course, some few pages of this Star newspaper. Doreen.
Right now, coming to the People Daily, and what you're having this morning, Monday morning, is that first, most NMS functions have already been ceded. That is what the Nairobi governor says, Johnson Sakaja. Key among these functions include those 4 that had been transferred to NMS in 2020 after that executive order signed by the president, of course, among them being health, transport, public works as well, now transferred back to the county government. And also what the governor said is that we must acknowledge that NMS has done excuse me, some good work. Although there are hitches here and there, NMS came at a time when the county was suffering from serious wounds. So clearly just acknowledging the work that NMS has done for this 2 years in which it has been at the helm in Nairobi County. Away from that, tough journey awaits Ruto after swearing in feat, so much as yes, tomorrow is a public holiday, and this is in respect to the swearing in of the president-elect William Samoei Ruto, who now will be president. After taking that oath of office, clearly there's a lot that he needs to do, if I should say, and this in respect to perhaps what his supporters now expecting of him immediately after he takes that oath of office. Remember that also in the run-up to the elections, a number of charters were signed, including the Women Charter, we had the Youth Fund, the Hustler Funds. So this is just some of those things that really Kenyans are expecting to see how he will handle in respect to, again, also issues of cost of living. We are speaking at a time whereby actually after he's swearing in tomorrow, on Wednesday, we expect review of fuel prices, given that happens every month on the 14th, and also going by that IMF directive, to just stop the fuel or end the fuel subsidy. We also equally had those conversations of might the fuel subsidy come to an end, given the fact that they had termed it unsustainable, and perhaps what might that mean for Kenyans. And this is again in respect to perhaps if that fuel subsidy had not been set apart by the outgoing government. So clearly there's a lot that Kenyans are really expecting from the president the minute he takes oath of office in respect to just the raft of issues that Kenyans are grappling with. And clearly, just from what we've heard so far from the dailies that Jane and Victor have tackled, I mean, just going by what you're having, is that final touches are now underway. And going by what, Kinyua mentioned yesterday, that is the head of public service, that clearly almost everything is complete and now they're just fine-tuning in respect to what will be happening tomorrow. And much as that is happening, growing list of Uhuru Raila allies now changing tune after election loss. This is just going by what some leaders are saying right now, and also some of them blaming Uhuru Kenyatta over the loss of Azimio. Key among those leaders include the former Starehe Member of Parliament, that is Maina Kamanda, who says that Uhuru's handling of Azimio's campaign, which was not up to par, is largely what also led to their loss. Also, we have been treated to some defections from the parties, as well as, some leaders from the Azimio side, the UDA, MDG, as well as independent candidates just moving to Kenya Kwanza. And also this one has attracted some concerns, I should say, from also members of the clergy, who are now saying that politicians moving to join the government is not really a good move, because then they need to stick to the side of opposition and see how best they can keep the government in check. And this is just going by what Reverend Thegu, the head of Presbyterian Church, said yesterday. He said, and actually this is just from an observation that he made, that people have been mocking those who lost in the just concluded polls. And he says that this move is unacceptable, saying that there's a bigger number that lost elections than those that won. And so then there needs to be some form of grace, or so to speak, gracious over those that lost the election, and also saying that those that really are in the opposition need to stay in that particular side to just see how best they can keep the government in check for the benefit of Kenyans. And so, after Thursday, where we saw the battle of numbers in both houses, National Assembly as well as Senate, now the battle has moved to governors, and that is the Council of Governors, where we are going to see Kenya Kwanza and Azimio lock horns over COG. Already some governors have picked the nomination papers, including Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, there's Johnson Sakaja, Joseph Olelenku of Kajiado, Mutula Kilonzo Jr. of Makueni County, and Ken Lusaka of Bungoma, who have already picked their nomination forms for that chairperson post. This is for the COG post. And just going by what you have in this particular article is that there's already some form of worry from the Kenya Kwanza side, as some of these leaders are saying that they are being asked to vote along party lines as opposed to one who might fit the bill, because over time, when it comes to the election of the COG, or the one who is at the helm there, they have always been voting on the basis of consensus, basically one who fits the bill and not necessarily party lines. So also just going by what we have here is that when you look at both sides, it is 23 versus 23. And this is again also because of the Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, who already expressed interest in working with Kenya Kwanza. So far, the Taita Taveta Governor Andrew Mwadime is yet to declare his choice of coalition. So as it stands, it's 23 versus 23, or 23 against 23 for both sides. So the minute, or the moment this process will commence, we'll just wait to see how this one will pan out. Will it be on the basis of consensus, as how we have witnessed over time, or will it be on the basis of party lines? Regina.
Now we pick it up from there, where the 47 governors will be convening in Mombasa for a 3-day orientation workshop, and it is going to culminate in the election of the Council of Governors leadership, just as Doreen Arange put it for you there. Now it will also include the whip, the chairs of the council's 18 committees, and it has also been revealed that Bungoma's Ken Lusaka had withdrawn from the race, despite having picked the nomination papers. We're going to have our political reporters, that is Washira Kishoki, there on this beat to just try and understand exactly who is in, who is not in this particular tight race. As he said, 23-23, with one actually being the deciding vote. Now, what we understand is that the names that have been linked to this race for the chair of Council of Governors include Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenku, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, as well as Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, who is said to be the Azimio
candidate there, who is going to be deputized by Makueni Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr., that is under the Azimio camp. Then also sources have revealed that Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has been asked to settle for the whip position, while now it's very uncertain between the three: Bungoma Governor Ken Lusaka, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, and Kajiado Governor Joseph Ole Lenku. Kenya Kwanza team, apparently, or other conversations around that are unconfirmed, is that Kenya Kwanza want to play the gender card. But all in all, any person who takes up the top seat as the chair of the Council of Governors has his or her work cut out for them, because they're going to be inheriting a massive backlog of pending bills that continues to raise concerns about procurement issues. Between June 2020 and March 2022, counties settled only 15.9 billion out of 155.5 billion in pending bills, leaving a cool 139.5 billion shillings unresolved. We will be waiting to see what happens after that 3-day orientation. On the front page, the last act, that's the main read. End of an era. Today is the last day that President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. So, what will Kenyans remember him for? This particular daily has just picked 4 areas. One is infrastructure. Uhuru spent trillions to build roads, and the key projects being the SGR line that cost 500 billion shillings for the 2 phases. Secondly was the issue of devolution. President midwifed the devolution, with his government allocating almost 3 trillion to the counties in the last 10 years. The third is the issue of public debt. Uhuru went on a borrowing spree, raising the country's debt from 1.79 trillion in 2013 to 8.47 trillion shillings in 2022. Last but not least, the budget. The country's budget doubled from 1.6 trillion in 2013 to 3.29 trillion shillings. Those are some of the stories that have been taken precedence in this particular daily. Remember, further details are also available on our website. That puts a cap on matters in the headlines. Be sure to just remain watching, because we have a candid conversation in regard to what is the political dynamics and now the shift after we have the president-elect, that is Dr. William Ruto, take office tomorrow. What should we expect? What are we looking at least in his first 100 days in office? This is in the headlines, and definitely Good Morning Kenya. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant viewing ahead.